and we can all just kind of have a bit of a conversation. Because I
Okay.
see that you've been interacting quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Good, good.
Really. Yeah.
So well, I suppose until Kerry joins us, tell us what have you found as some of the benefits?
Well, just to be able to chat to her, I must say I found Evernote really quite frustrating at times because it kind of jumps about a lot. But just to be able to chat and post things, and I mean, I've thought of 3 or 4 new ideas for prints already while we were chatting, so it was really, really nice that way. So another perspective, really.
Brilliant. So you had a good chance to kind of sort of not only
Yeah.
reflect but also think ahead. And
Yeah, and it was nice that it was spread out. I could kind of go off and, while I had lunch, do some, and then type away and really think about what I was saying as well.
okay, so you like the fact that there was that stage, it was almost bite-sized chunks and chances
Yeah,
to think.
and I get very shy. In fact, it's kind of like, who else is there? When there's a big group of people, I get really shy and I stutter and I kind of go. So actually, it was nice to be able to take my time and type it, really. Although I
Mm.
still didn't feel quite as articulate as Kerry, but, yeah.
No, well, I don't think that's what the objective is. Don't worry
No,
about being
no, 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 but
articulate.
you feel
Yeah.
self-conscious because there were,
No,
it's kind of,
of course. And you will feel
words
self-conscious.
stay there longer than, typed words stay longer than said words, don't they? So,
Of course, yeah, and that's, I suppose that's the thing. But we're only archiving it for the purpose of the project. We're not going to publicise any of that.
no.
It's all going to be just for, kind of sort of really to capture your memories, to
Yeah,
capture what you've kind of sort of had that conversation throughout the day. So then it's
yeah.
an opportunity,
And
almost like a journal.
Kerry posted lots of really good links as well, which was nice that you can kind of go back to, it's like, oh, I might go and buy that book then. So it was really good.
Oh, that's really good. No, I'm glad that you've enjoyed it. Because I've seen lots of kind of sort of, I suppose, activity from you. Some of the other people I noticed kind of sort of probably had other engagements and
Yeah.
other commitments and such forth. So, did you have any interaction with anyone else?
I tried to, but it didn't really happen. I tried to
No.
go, oh, lovely work, and but you almost felt like you were then because I'd had so much time to chat to Kerry because everyone else was so busy, maybe, that then it felt like I was stepping. It wasn't a big conversation from the start.
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So I felt like, oh, maybe I ought to just let them go, and then you feel a bit like you're watching other people having conversations. So
So
yeah,
yeah. Okay. How would you suggest that we change that for future?
I don't know. You see, the thing is the Evernote, I've never used it before, but I also thought it was funny because I said to Kerry, I'm going to need a break. I need to go and get some lunch, and then I kind of, because I posted that on Facebook, I didn't want that to be part, and then other people chipped in, so I thought, well, could it have happened, because it was bite-sized chunks, could that have happened in a Facebook discussion
Mm.
instead? Because I think a few people said that they struggled. Richard said that he'd struggled with the connection to the Evernote. And I found that once I tried to, it got lost. I tried to refresh or I clicked on something else. Oh, God, where is it now? I've got to go and find it in my computer. So, whereas everyone's used to the format of Facebook, and I think if it was a year-long course, this would be session 1 and we'd use Evernote and then get used to it. So it's
Mm.
that thing of trying to get used to new technology for quite an important, inspiring discussion, really.
Okay, no, that's some really good feedback actually, and it's something which I am seeing is the Facebook group is everyone's familiar with it. It's
Yeah.
not new technology. It's like with Zoom. This is I know you've watched this kind of sort of like
Yeah, well, I've got used to it now. Whereas,
yeah.
like, we had that first one, and that was very stop-starty. How do I do it? Where do I type? Where do I do that? If that had been like the day of, the only day that we had interaction with you, it might have been a bit like, oh, this is a bit frustrating, really. Because
Yes.
I went away after that seminar and played and typed and had a go, really. So
Yeah, no, definitely. So, well, let me just have a look because I think Kerry's with us now, and I'm just going to make her a panelist. as
Okay.
well. So then we can all kind of sort of have a conversation.
She'll see the stage. I'm trying to show. I have a tiny studio, and I do dressmaking and printmaking and everything else in it.
Jane, don't worry at all. Please don't worry, because
I
yes,
think the
you're an
first time we
artist.
did it, I had a lovely view out the window, but
You're an.
it's not quite so good.
Hello, Kerry.
Hello, let me just put my lights on. Hang on.
Oh look, you've got fairy lights. Hi, Kerry.
Kerry.
Hello, lovely.
I've got mess behind me, so you'll have to excuse it.
That's good. That's good because you're a creative artist. That's absolutely the right thing to have behind you.
Yes.
Exactly. That's the backdrop that I expect.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Welcome to my world.
Can I just say, Jane, thank you so much for your engagement today.
Oh, it's
You
been a
must be
pleasure.
shattered.
No, I've really, really loved it. It's been a treat day. I was saying to Dan that I felt like I was so lucky having you almost to myself.
Right, yeah, I really feel like I've gotten to know you.
Yeah.
It was a shame there weren't more people they've just started to that's why I was a little bit late. There's lots more posts coming up now. So I think that, it's the engagement is fabulous once you kind of get into it. I think there's just something about getting used to it.
I was saying that to Dan, that perhaps I was saying at first, like for the first hour and a half, I was sat there waiting, going, "Is there anything happening?" I don't want to say that nothing was happening, but then
I think Evernote glitched out because it was very odd this morning.
Right.
I don't know why. It's not done that before. It didn't do it when we practiced. Did it on Monday, Dan?
No, not at all. That's what I noticed. I was like, yeah.
And once I went to the one that I downloaded, it worked a lot better, and I could refresh it and link in a lot more.
Did it? That's good to know. Okay, so rather than the web-based in the browser, it's better if you download it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think so. And from the looks of it, it might have been something on their server, because it was being very. It wasn't responding, was it? It just wasn't there. So, Sophia's just joined us. Sophia, are you happy for me to promote you to a panelist so we could all just have a conversation? You just put yes. Let's have a look. But yeah, because there's just a few of us, and I just think that we could all kind of just have a bit of it. Generally, with kind of sort of webinars, we wouldn't have this. Hi, sorry, I couldn't get into Zoom. Sophia, are you okay for me to promote you to a panelist? So that would just mean that we've got then a video feed for you. Yep. Okay, great. It's now rejoined. Hello.
Hey. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's nice to meet everyone in person.
Yes, lovely. Really nice.
Yeah, so no, I think in regards to obviously the technical glitches, that was kind of sort of like an issue. But from what I've seen kind of sort of with the Evernote, it's really kind of started populating and you're getting a lot from it. So, Sophia, how have you found today? Oh, we haven't got sound. We just need to go down, just on your bottom left-hand corner, there's a little microphone. Just on your screen.
Oh yeah, unmute.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Yeah,
Hello.
I haven't done an awful lot since I tried to post that this morning. I think my dilemma was between the apps, because I've got my iPhone and my iPad, and then obviously the web, but I use the iPad a lot more. Yes, yeah, no, I think that's the thing. It's Jane, you were mentioning earlier, it's new technology, isn't it? So
yeah,
everyone were kind of sort of thrown in the deep end with their technology and straight away doing something where maybe, I suppose, for future, we almost have a little rehearsal trial run of this is going to be an introduction. Then we can then actually start then the kind of sort of workshop and use the technology.
Yeah.
So, Kerry, that's, I think, some quite interesting kind of sort of feedback on the use of technology and how potentially maybe it might be worth looking to keep the Evernote open for a little bit longer.
That was going to be my suggestion, actually, Dan. Obviously, I'll I won't carry on tonight, but it can stay open and people can keep populating. There's some brilliant streams, some really insightful threads going on, which I'm sure people can kind of feed into. I feel like this could keep growing and that it could stay open. And maybe it stays open for a week and then I'm happy to come back in and have a look.
If you're happy to do that, I think obviously you're not going to be there for a week, kind of sort of like with
I'm
instant response.
here all day.
I can imagine. I bet you need a large glass of wine.
Thank you. Is that permission, good man? I will do that.
That's permission. We can have a virtual party.
Lovely.
So yeah, Sophia's got another person, the cats.
Oh, the cat's joining in.
I've got mine. Oh, lovely.
I've got a bird feeder on my window somewhere there. There's a bird feeder.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
All got our creatures.
I've got Lou in the background there.
It's a creature.
Yeah, he's not quite a creature. He's a creative mind, though. Creative being.
Yeah,
so, I think that sounds good. So maybe what we'll do then, we'll keep it open for a week. If you then kind of sort of like check in as and when.
Yeah.
And then maybe also if we use the Facebook group as a way just for people to keep the conversation, they can use the tags.
Yeah,
that's quite nice, isn't it? Where you get that notification come through and all right, so Jane has got a question here or any kind of queries and keep that kind of engagement there.
Yeah, because I find that with our MA group, we have a Facebook group and it is so vital. We talk about pencils, we talk about paper, we talk about scanners, but then it stays there for a long time. We scroll back over months sometimes to get that one bit of information. So yeah, maybe if we could copy some of the stuff into the Facebook group afterwards, or the headings or the questions that Kerry posed might be quite good.
Yeah, that'd be
quite nice. More.
Great, they were brilliant questions.
I've got loads of them.
There we go.
Maybe that's another project for another time.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe save some of those because this is still a pilot. Kind of sort of obviously, and we're really looking. Although it's live and everyone's benefiting from it, we're also learning, and we want to really kind of sort of like reflect on what we've then achieved and how we can kind of sort of like use these technologies to connect with people, not for technologies to be kind of any form of barrier. And from the sounds of it, I think that, because it was a new platform for everyone, that's where then maybe it was a bit of a barrier just because of that confidence.
Yeah.
Like if you think, Kerry, kind of sort of, me and yourself have had a couple of rehearsals using Zoom. And maybe that's what we needed to kind of sort of think about is having almost a bit of a rehearsal and an opportunity for people to familiarise themselves with the technology first. So I think let's keep the conversation going then on the Facebook group. Yep. We'll publish everything kind of sort of on the Evernote and keep that up to date. And then we can also, maybe Kerry, if you want to do kind of sort of some announcements on the Facebook group saying it's open for everyone to go and use.
Yes, I can do that. Yep.
And give them that kind of sort of like permission, because I think that's also one of the hard bits. And you mentioned that earlier, Jane, is sometimes you don't feel like you've got permission to talk.
In group conversations, when it was me and Kerry and then someone new came in, suddenly I felt like I didn't want to intrude in that time because we'd had such a great conversation all day. But then it was vital that you two got that kind of chat going on. So
no, but I think then really lovely when you came in and you offered your insights. For me, that was really important, and I think the more people that populate each of the notes.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We'd had such a lovely time, Jane. We've done so much that,
I felt like I needed to just stand back a little bit. And then it was like, I hope I'm not being rude now. And online etiquette's quite hard, isn't it?
Sure. And I think that's why I said at the beginning that, this is just a space for us to be. And it's fine that if you respond, and if you don't respond, I think that's equally okay. Because sometimes you kind of want to ponder something, don't you?
Yeah.
For me, I was kind of running up and getting books and then finding images. And so I think maybe that's worth saying, that it's a kind of open space.
Yeah.
And not to feel either pressured to respond or worried that because equally you kind of go, I've put something up. Has somebody said something?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, so if we give it a week and people feel,
I think
like
that'd be good, and people will settle in. And because I know my husband's got really bad dyslexia, so he struggles with typing. I'm kind of his admin, and I think there's that self-consciousness that, am I phrasing this right? Is this right? You know, it gets really.
Record sound, so you could do a sound recording and just speak.
Oh, that would be good if people could.
There are different, different ways to do it. But I think you're right, Dan, and so for me, that was why it was important that people downloaded it maybe a week beforehand. But you know,
the only I'm sorry if I've missed you know, some of it before, but the only question I've got, because Jane's alluded to it, is using Evernote instead of Facebook. I mean, everybody's so familiar with Facebook, and you can do everything on there. So you can download images, sounds, videos, you know, everything. And we used Facebook in our, you know, degree course as well. You know, it was vital for us. So I didn't know what the differentiators of Evernote were, you know, why you would use Evernote specifically.
I think in Facebook, you might struggle after a while with the amount of images that are being posted. So video. So I think in terms of, for me, if you imagine Evernote, it's like a notebook. It's got all of your sketches, got lots of stuff in it. And yes, you can do that in Facebook. But for me, Facebook is a much quicker way of engaging with everybody. Whereas Evernote, if you go and have a look, some of the discussions we've got are really, really long. And I think I would get lost in Facebook. Facebook for me is a bit more, it's in between Twitter. So you've got Twitter, Facebook, Evernote. See what I mean? Facebook is much more immediate and you can engage with people, but there's, you know, we're storing some pictures that there could be like the Vimeo clip. So you're asking it to do a lot of work. So for me, I think the amount of information you can have in Evernote. Yeah.
Because I think Evernote, I saw it as a personal notebook rather than one that you shared with other people.
It can be both.
Yeah.
So absolutely. When you can't see my screen right now, but I've got all sorts of different notes with different projects that I do, which are personal and I don't publish them. They're my own thoughts.
Yeah.
But webinar, absolutely, this one was for all of us to have a look at. Because for me, there is something really exciting about that, for Jen, that quick dialogue, but also that kind of more reflective dialogue. So you might come back into your Evernote notebook and there is a setting where you can put it as the most updated version and you can then see where people are posting. So for me, it's more intuitive and
so long term, it's got good use then, yeah.
I think so. For me, it services a very different thing than Facebook.
Right.
I agree, because I've used Facebook for a number of educational projects, and because it is a feed, things can then get lost.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, Jane, you're scrolling back sometimes for 2 months ago, and you're like, where is that point?
Yeah.
Where what I liked with Evernote is the fact that you can have an individual note for one topic, and then you can go to that and you can kind of sort of build on that. And I think because we're going to be keeping this open for a week, we can see how that kind of sort of like develops. And I think if we use a mixture of the two, so we have the more conversation kind of engagement on Facebook, and then we then have the sharing of ideas, sharing of work, sharing of thoughts on Evernote, and then we can then really kind of sort of like review that at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe in the end it is that you revert back to Facebook, and I think that's perfectly fine. The thing for me about what's happening in Evernote is how should I say it? The dialogue that happens. So you can actually see the exchanges of practices, and you can kind of start to understand the differences of how people think and the similarities. So for me, it's more of a kind of practicing organic document, which keeps growing.
Right.
And actually for me, gosh, so some of the things that we've talked about already, Jane, and I might then put a tag into an article that you looked at or we looked at together. And so in terms of kind of building a kind of toolbox of stuff, for me, that's kind of how I use it. Now, that might be useful for some, it might not be for others, but it's the exchange that was really exciting, was that kind of, and also the kind of generosity and the openness with which we were talking. We were bringing up some really important topics. Again, you could do that on Facebook, but I think, as Dan's saying, for me, it kind of gets lost Whereas if you hold it in these kind of gorgeous little spaces of ideas.
Yes, yeah. I see with the bookmark idea then. I think I've tried exploring it, but not enough. So for me, this was my first full day of using it. And I suppose it's kind of the first day of a course, new classroom. How does this work? Where do I do this? So maybe it's a lovely new tool that you've introduced us to. So
absolutely, yeah. And so maybe it's just if we leave it for the group to, it is quite intuitive once you spend some time in it. And I understand people are really busy, so it might not be until Saturday that somebody gets a chance to look at it. But if we hand it over to you guys and see how it grows, and then you can say whether it's useful or not.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because I'm just looking now, like you and Beth have been having a conversation, Kerry, just recently.
Yes.
So it is still ever evolving. And I think that's what's going to be interesting. Kerry, do you want to just maybe kind of sort of go over, you could share your screen and just summarise what you felt from today. That might be an interesting.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, look, so we've had another new post already. Hi everyone, who's this? That's Elaine. I think that the most important thing for me is, so these for me represent kind of different streams of thought, different ideas. And what would be really lovely is if people just kind of keep coming back into them, having a look what people have written. So there's some lovely resource there in terms of work, what people are doing. And for me, the most important thing are kind of these comments at the bottom and how people are kind of responding, and then how that links to other posts and how it reminds you of. So for me, I hadn't even thought of putting this in. I went and found this, but Elaine talking about surface pattern design, which I didn't know much about, but how it reminds me of something, and then how you can kind of just put a thought process or something that interests you, which then might inspire somebody else to think about something different about their work. So I would encourage everyone just to kind of keep coming back into all of these different posts. And depending on what's going on, I might put some more in. But what you can do, which is really useful up here, so I've got mine sort by date updated. So every time one's updated, it will pop up here in the first screen. Brilliant. So that's a really useful way of knowing who's responded and which post's been updated.
That's great.
And yeah, I just love it. It's like a feast of stuff. So here I've got, these are all my other notes, there's so it's a collection of thoughts really for me, which then becomes exciting. Obviously I've shared this one with you guys.
Yeah. And
so then it becomes populated by other people's ideas. And so for me, this is that's the gorgeous bit, that the exchange, the dialogue that's going on. And I think maybe it's just being brave to go, do you know what? It's really beautiful. That's not my area. It makes me think of this. Have you thought of, I don't know, this artist or, so it's just coming in and repopulating them, I think.
Definitely. No, I see that as where it's really create like those sparks of inspiration, sharing ideas. Jane, you mentioned how there's a few books that you wanted to now read.
Yeah, the artist one, How to Steal Like an Artist. Went off and looked on that on Amazon. I thought, really interesting.
No, I think obviously everyone will benefit through that as they kind of sort of like watch this video, because I'm recording kind of sort of this session now. They can then kind of get a feel of what you've been through, that experience. And then from there, they'll be in a position where they can add to it and evolve the ideas and develop the ideas and make it their own.
And I think, Jane, your point about feeling or worried to like post something or go into somebody else's post, I think what we just say is, no, this is an open space. This is a space of dialogue. And as I said, the kind of guiding principles are you enter into it with a sense of generosity, openness, and kind of care.
I think now it's going to be longer then. That sounds really lovely. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that sound like a good point where we can wrap up today. What we'll do is let's see how it kind of sort of evolves. And then if we aim kind of sort of on Monday next week to look at, we can schedule in a time that suits a few people, maybe kind of sort of Wednesday or Thursday next week. for then us to have kind of sort of another catch up like this, and where people can kind of sort of share their thoughts.
Great. Wednesdays are a bad day for me.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday- Wednesdays are a bad day for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No problem. Right. Well, we'll have a look at the diary. And once again, I'll use the Facebook group and I'll put some up there and see kind of sort of maybe do a bit of a poll on there to see
Yeah.
when people are available and who. But first of all, let's see who's interacting and who's going to benefit from it.
Yeah, because at the minute there's 10 people, so but obviously 10 people haven't uploaded, which is fine. So maybe people are just observing from the sidelines, which is lovely. And at some point they might feel, oh no, that's really sparked something for me. I'm just going to add a new note.
That sounds good.
That's good, definitely. Well, yeah, thank you very much.
No.
Cheers, Kerry.
Thank you, Jane. Again, what a lovely interaction.
It's been lovely. Thank you so
Really
much. It's been really inspiring.
Brilliant.
No, that's good. And Sophia, thanks for joining us now. And I'm sure, as you mentioned earlier, you might want to kind of sort of go and explore some of the things that you maybe missed throughout the day, and kind of sort of that might spark some ideas.
Definitely.
Come in,
No, it's good. Well, the nice thing is you can see that the party started and there's loads of stuff for people to get involved with. So let's see how it evolves from there.
Lovely.
Great stuff. Well, thanks very much. Have a good evening. And yeah, Kerry, go and get a large glass of wine.
Yeah, you've earned it, Kerry.
Thank you. And you. Jane.
Yeah, might see you in the curb one day.
I would
Yeah.
love to. Let's do that. And I will send you an invite to the exhibition, 100%.
Oh, Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah,
That'd be
lovely.
great. All right, lovely.
See you.
Bye,
Speak to you
everyone.
soon. Bye-bye then. Bye-bye. Bye.